I'm Derrick McQueen, Poverty Initiative and Union Theological student.
And I'm Charon Hribar. I work with the Poverty Initiative and am an alumni of Union, and I'm a current student at Drew Theological Seminary.
You both did great presentations today, and I was wondering if I could just ask you some follow-up questions about them.
It'll be fun.
If I could start with Derrick, you made a statement that you said the claim with the MLK movement was ending poverty was an audacious claim, and I was wondering if you could sort of talk about that.
Well, ending poverty, the reason I use that phrase audacious claim is because it's usually thought of that poverty is always going to be with us, to sort of paraphrase that biblical text. And it's sort of wormed its way into our society and into democracy so that there'll always be haves and have-nots, rather than turning that upside down and saying that we're going against the grain of that. We're saying that it doesn't have to be the case. It's not supposed to be the norm. So in fighting for that, it's a very audacious claim to say that we're going to be ending poverty. We're going to be ending that whole system of what we've come to believe is the only way to be, sort of in America and actually globally. So it's a pretty audacious claim to me to want to turn things upside down that much.
Absolutely. I was also wondering if you could talk to the point about you had a conversation with a psychologist from Columbia, and you made the comment that you can stay within Union pretty much. You don't have to leave the walls ever. Maybe you can talk more about that.
Well, in my position here, working with the Office of Student Life, we had a consultation with the counseling services over at Columbia, and one of the lead psychologists there was saying she met a Union student who actually said to her that there are times where they never had to leave campus, and she found that incredulous. She just was like, that. How can that possibly be that we're so close, and that she thought we were pretty much the same entity, Columbia and Union, but we're not. And it's so easy for us because we have our library here, we have our food here, we have food delivered. It's New York City. You don't have to step outside these doors and really interact with the outside world. The reason I used it in this particular presentation is because the Poverty Initiative actually sort of engages that head on. It says it doesn't matter if you can stay here 24/7, 7 days a week for an entire semester. The key is to go outside of these walls, to soak in what you have and use the security of this place and the quiet of this place to learn what it is that you need to learn, to analyze and to organize, but then you have to get outside of these doors. And the reason I sort of like to bring up that idea that we really don't have to leave is to show the power of what it means to make a choice when you walk outside those doors to do something.
Thanks. Charon, I was hoping you could talk about what I've thought of in terms of bull's horn almost of this trip. And it's the one point you said that this is a study as sort of one horn, and it's also developing long-term relationships as sort of the second horn. And I was wondering if you could talk about this bull's horn of sort of the immersion trip in my head, at least.
Okay, then. We'll see if I hit the nail on the head with your description there. In terms of study, I think what's important about the kind of pedagogy and method of the Poverty Initiative immersion courses is the idea, going on what Derrick was just talking about, of this kind of inside-outside of what it means to be having an engaged scholarship that takes on critical analysis, and recognizing that in our society we live in a very anti-intellectual society, and even though we're doing scholarship here, oftentimes it lacks that critical analysis of what's really going on outside of these walls, and the need to bring in what's really going on the ground into that scholarship, so that we're not just studying abstract theories and concepts that have no real grounding in what's going on in our reality. And in addition, in terms of activism and things that are going on the ground, oftentimes there's this desire to kind of continually focus on just the day-to-day and what campaign's coming next, and we get caught up, because of what's perpetuated in our society, of not really taking the time to step back and critically reflect on how we are strategically moving those different pieces of our activism. And so in terms of this immersion experience being a study, I think that it's bringing those things together, bringing together the scholarship and activism in a critical analysis that's going to therefore build relationships as well, to foster the relationships between kind of academics, religious leaders, community organizers, people that are on the ground dealing with these things every day. And that I think particularly the word relationship is important because it's not an artificial encounter, and it's not just saying, okay, hey, okay, you're doing this work, come in and talk in our classroom, or for students on this immersion trip to go for a day and spend time meeting a group in Philadelphia and saying, okay, well, it was nice to learn about your experience, we're going to kind of go on our way, it was, we can kind of take that back, but there's no ongoing encounter and ongoing kind of critical engagement and relationship building that often happens in experiential learning courses or even in church language mission trips. So kind of the methodology is putting all of those things together, I think, is taking this critical analysis and in-depth relationship building to create a sustained community that's going to be able to build a social movement that is necessary to really engage this social problem of poverty and to create a social solution.
Thanks so much. One last question, sort of for both of you. You guys always do great songs together, and I was wondering what the conversation looks like right before, when you're trying to decide what's sort of the proper song or something. Could you tell the name of the song you did today, and why you?
Well, that was, yeah. So normally Derrick and I, one of us will get a bright idea, and then we've been doing this for lots of years together at this point, so we can kind of feed off of one another. And I think sometimes we get in sync with modes of what people are kind of feeling in general, but then as a community, what needs to be there. And the song we did this morning was I Remember I Believe, and it's a song that Sweet Honey and the Rock sang. And I think this morning I woke up, and oftentimes it's one of those, you wake up in the morning with something in your spirit. And I said, originally they'd asked us to do Woke Up This Morning With My Mind. And I was like, yeah, it's a good song, you get everyone, But I was feeling more, I think as this weekend being this space, it's also the anniversary of Martin Luther King's birthday today, and needing to remember what we stand upon and the history that's behind us, that song for me was kind of circulating through my being this morning. And I came in and said, hey Derrick, what do you think about switching things around a little bit? He was going to do the piece on reflecting on King and getting ready for the sermon tomorrow, and I said I was kind of thinking that maybe it would be good to lead in with that song and kind of get people in a more reflective space as they go into this weekend-long immersion of reflecting on King, the Poor People's Campaign, and what it means to be building a social movement today. So
I thought it was a perfect choice because it was really a way of taking a group of people, many of whom are coming together for the first time, and getting us in a place to say, we don't know why many of these things are happening, but what we're trying to do is create an atmosphere where we remember and therefore we believe, so that we can go and know why and then make a change. And that really helped set my mind ready to be able to speak about the importance of this weekend, the importance of King in my life, and the importance of King in the movement here at Union with the Poverty Initiative as well. So Charon and I are usually very much in sync with what we're doing, and in our conversations even days prior, it's sort of like, by the time we realize that it's time for us to get together to sing a song, usually it's sort of like, yeah, this is what's going on. It seems to be what's going on with this particular experience, so let's go with this.
Thank you very much. And if you guys, we can edit this out if this is too weird for you guys, but could you sing just a few verses of that song? If you don't, we can just edit this last one.
Last verse, or first verse to the last verse with the
You go. I'll follow you, as usual.
And then whenever you guys are done, just edit it. Thanks.